me, myself, and I, Brian Roof, and my very special guest, my buddy, Jesse. What's going on?
How you doing, sir? Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely, man. We love our Throwback Thursdays. It's one of the funnest segments. I love going back and talking all the retro games. Today's got to be one of probably my favorite ones we're going to talk about, and that's the Nintendo. I mean, I think everybody that grew up in the 80s, you definitely probably had one of those at one point in time in your life, and we all grew up listening to Mario Brothers and all that stuff, right?
That's absolutely correct. And what a great day to do an NES podcast on Mario Day, International Mario Day, March 10th.
Wow, that is awesome, man. I mean, that is pretty ironic, and ironic enough, this past week I went to go to Mario World at Universal Studios in Hollywood. That was a great time. I went live for a split little bit of time. Some people joined me. If you got to see me, cool. If not, I posted some videos of it on TikTok. It was a lot of fun. Definitely, if you're a big Mario Brother person or something like that, go check that out. And the movie's coming out here soon too.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to the movie for sure. But let's go ahead and get right into this, man. We're going to go through all the list of we're not going to go through all the games. There was a lot of games, but we're going to go through quite a few of them, and we'll probably stop and talk about them because a lot of these are going to hit home for us.
Oh, yeah.
All right, right off the top of the list, Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably the first Nintendo game that I actually owned. And when you bought it, at the time when I bought it or got it, it came with the Mario Brothers. So that was probably one of the first games I actually grew up on with the Nintendo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's number one on the bestsellers list at 40 million copies. Just absolutely amazing. Which it was.
That doesn't shock me.
Yeah, which is a pack-in game. You got the Mario, the Duck Hunt, and everything with the OG NES.
Yeah, it's man, Mario Brothers was something awesome, and then you start learning all the cheats to it and how you warp to different levels and the little hidden one-ups and stuff like that. There's all these little hidden gems that they had that you started finding out about it eventually.
Right. I was streaming today on TikTok, and for International Mario Day, I said, let's go back to the OG Mario, the one that started it all. Let's go back to number one and see if we can still complete it, because it's been several years since I played the OG Mario. And, remembering all those little tricks and all where the one-ups are and certain things and the warp zones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing how that stuff stays in my brain like that.
How did you do? How did you
I made it to World 8-1, and the controller I was using and the Switch emulation, it didn't feel like the original, so my timing and everything was a little off. So I also haven't played it in years, so there was some skill gap there. But it's fun to go back and revisit, but I definitely need to play. I always recommend people who get into retro gaming, use the OG hardware, use the original system, use it on a CRT TV, the old school TV. It's okay to emulate, but to get the full experience, use the OG hardware. That's the only way to go, in my opinion.
Look what shirt I wore for today's
Hey,
episode.
there you go. Love it.
Got a Pirates hat too. I just happened to be a coach of the Pirates team, so I was like, hey, that goes pretty well. All right, the next game. This is another one, man. The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, yeah. Legend of Zelda, number 5 on the bestseller list. A classic, as always. Did you know the story about how this game got invented?
No, man. Let's tell
when
us about
creator was young, he got lost in the woods. And that had a big impact on him. So when he started making the Nintendo games, he wanted to recreate that feeling of having that adventure out in the woods like he had back when he was a child when he got lost. So little backstory there about how Zelda got created.
Man, that guy had quite the imagination.
Absolutely.
That game was a lot of fun. All right. Number 3 on my over here that I'm talking about is Super Mario Brothers 3. Now, I know that's Jesse's favorite of all time, and that is one of my favorite too. I love being able to fly through a level and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's number 3 on our bestseller, but my all-time favorite game. Over 17 million copies sold. This game was made in 1988, and it still to this day is one of my absolute favorite games. I try to play it almost every day. Gives me those endorphin dumps that I'm looking for. Just puts me in a great mood. Just hearing the music and replaying it. No matter how many times I play this game, I still have fun. It still puts me in a good mood, and it's one of our feature games on Mario in the Morning when we stream on TikTok. We stream some type of Mario game every morning, and that's always up at the top of the list for me.
I'm gonna have to catch you because you know who I always catch is I think it's a Booney.
Yeah, Booney Veteran, good friend of mine.
Booney Veteran, yeah, Booney Veteran, yeah. He, I've been watching him. He does a lot of Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yes, an absolute amazing streamer and an amazing person. He's kind of taken me under his wing there for a bit on the TikTok. And he's kind of showed me the ropes, and he's done so much good as well. He's donated thousands of dollars to charity for veterans, to help with like PTSD and stuff. So not just a good gamer, also a good person. Booney Veteran on TikTok.
I think you'd be a good guy to bring on with us, man, just to talk one day.
Absolutely.
Talk about his whole experience. So if you know him pretty well, go ahead and reach out to him and invite him on, and tell me when we can. Get him on, and all 3 of us will jump on together and have a nice little episode.
Right, I'll see how his schedule works out.
Yeah, I know he's a busy guy, man, and he's got quite the following, and I see he has a lot of people watching him. There's a lot of people that love watching the game.
Absolutely.
Whether they're at work or whatever they're doing, man, they're just sitting there watching him play that, and I don't know. You guys have the patience of a saint. I was watching you the other day play that impossible level, man. And you're like 6. I'm just trying to get 6 inches. 6 inches.
That was it. I think I made it 8.5 inches, so I beat my goal.
Yeah, you went pretty far a couple of times, man. And we're all, everybody over there is trying to coach you through it, like we all can do it.
That's one of my philosophies. Just because something's hard doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a try. Sometimes we do things not because they're easy, but because they are hard. JFK. It's a life lesson.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yep, that's a good lesson, man. Right, Metroid.
Metroid was a great game for its time. It's not on the top 10 list, but that surprises me because Metroid was such a popular game. It was very, very diverse. It was so big. There were so many things you could do, so many ways to go and get lost and find yourself again. There is one trick, though. If you're still playing Metroid to this day, I remember the code. You type in Justin Bailey and a bunch of the backslashes for the rest, and you'll be towards the end with 99 bombs and some cool upgrades and stuff. And just a cool little trick that I remember that since I was a little kid. I'm 41 years old, and just something that's still stuck in my brain, but I can't remember what I ate on Tuesday.
Right. Man, that's a good memory. I do remember, like back in the day, they started bringing out game shows with Nintendo games, and this was one of the games I remember being on the show that they had to compete on. It was I forgot what the game show was called, man, but it was a great little show because they would just go through the different Nintendo games, and it would be like 3 contestants playing against one another, and who could be the best.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Yoshi. Now, Yoshi came out a little bit later in the early 90s.
Yeah, this was a game I've actually never played. I have it on my Nintendo Switch as part of the expansion pack with the emulators, but it's a game I just never played. I don't know why, but I guess since it was so late, I was already on the Super Nintendo by then that I just never picked up a copy of it.
Yeah, I didn't play Yoshi much myself. Kirby's Adventure.
Yes. I was actually never a fan of Kirby's Adventure, but I know it is pretty iconic, and he is big in his own right. And, his series, there's so many different games in that series But it was just the only Kirby I ever liked was on the Game Boy way back in the day. I don't even remember the full title's name, but that's the only one I ever put any hours into.
Yeah, I'd never played Kirby much myself. I do remember the game though. Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yes.
Or Super Mario 2,
Yeah,
we'll
Super
say.
Mario 2. This game also has another interesting backstory. I don't know if you're aware of it, but this game, Mario 2 in Japan and Mario 2 in America are completely different games. All right. If you remember back in
Wow. No, I did
1993,
not know that.
Super Nintendo released Mario All Star Collections. So it had Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3, Super Mario World, and another Mario called The Lost Levels. That was Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan. But Nintendo of America thought that the game was too hard for Americans. And it looked too similar. And with it almost looking like the original Super Mario, not a whole lot different, just kind of like different levels and its difficulty.
Right.
They decided to go a different direction. So they actually took another game called Doki Doki Panic that looks just like Super Mario 2. They just reskinned the characters to look like Mario characters. And that's how we got Super Mario Brothers 2.
Man, interesting facts. Good job, Jesse. G's, man.
Also, number 4 on the bestseller list, 7.46 million copies. This is always the redheaded stepchild of the Mario games, in my opinion. People don't think too highly of it, but when it was out, I absolutely played it. I beat the game several times. Absolutely loved it. And back in, 89, 90, you had to have it.
I think the problem with Mario 2 is Mario 3 came out. And then everybody fell in love with Mario 3, so we easily forgot about Mario 2. You know what I mean? And a lot of people still love Mario 1 because it's just where it kind of originated from. But I think that that's where we lost Mario 2 is as soon as Mario 3 came out, everybody loved that game. It was just a whole new dynamic to the game where you can get the feather and you fly and stuff like that. And it's just the cool little cactuses and stuff. I mean, it was just a really fun
Mario
game.
3 was an absolute masterpiece of not just a Mario game, but games in general. That game is so well made. They spent so much time on it that it was just still, 32, 33 years later, it's still fun to play. It's still an epic game and still number 1 on my list.
I think it's one of my favorites too, for sure. Let's see. Donkey Kong. Everybody knows some Donkey Kong.
Absolutely. That's pretty much the start of Mario, right? So you got Mario saving the princess from Donkey Kong. So it surprised me it's not on the top 10 bestseller list. I figure with its history and how long it's been around, it would definitely be up there. But Donkey Kong is an absolute classic. And there are...
I actually remember playing Donkey Kong and Atari and stuff like that. So, I mean, I believe, it's kind of where it kind of originated from. I think it kind of lost its way with Nintendo, but it still was a fun game.
Absolutely. There's also some great documentaries about Donkey Kong that you can still find online trying to achieve that perfect score, the high score. And people have dedicated their lives to getting a perfect score on Donkey Kong. I just absolutely love that someone dedicated that many years to an arcade game.
That is amazing, actually. This game right here, I spent a lot of hours on, loved it. Contra. And I'm sure everybody knows the famous up, down, left, right, AB, select, start.
Absolutely.
Right?
Konami code up, down, left, right, BA, select, start if you're playing 2 players.
Yeah, there it is. See, Jesse knows it way better than I do, but I do kind of remember it in some sense. I know a lot of people, if you played Contra, you remember that because, man, that was definitely the hookup when they came out with that cheat code.
Absolutely. Contra's actually pretty hard to run through without using the cheat code. I can do it. Just not my favorite way to play the game. And another tidbit: if
Nah.
you have an emulator, I like to play the Japanese version of Contra. It looks slightly different. There's actually like some cutscenes with some awesome still picture graphics. There's like a mini map, like an overworld, like how Mario has the overworld map in Mario 3. Just a
Yeah.
cool little things they threw in there that we didn't get in the US version, and I don't know why, because it just enhances that game to another level.
It just seems like they were way ahead of
Oh,
technology, way ahead of their time before us. I mean, that's why we got all their stuff. But yeah, they were way ahead of us in the technology world.
yes.
All right, Castlevania.
Castlevania, one of those all-time classics as well. Super, super difficult in my opinion. But one of my favorite stories about Castlevania is not just the game itself, because the game was incredibly difficult, and I shied away from it when I was younger. But my older brother absolutely loved the game, and he made it all the way to the end one day, and he was in a fierce fight with Dracula, trying to beat the game, trying to beat the final boss. The Nintendo freezes. There was a glitch in the game, and it just freezes, and he spent all day playing it. So he takes the game outside, throws it up in the air, baseball bat, boom, 100 pieces. I had Castlevania cartridge all over my yard.
Gosh, dang, dude.
But yeah, Castlevania is a classic,
Wow.
and to watch the people who can speed run this game, there's some awesome documentaries about people speed running this game and trying to get the lowest possible score and all the glitches and tricks they figured out. Man, it's just such an iconic game.
Yeah, I never actually really got into the game. I don't think I played it much.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly difficult, so I shied away from it. And then with Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, that was a very poorly executed sequel. I mean, I played it, I didn't like it, but they really stepped up their game in Castlevania 3. Now, that was an epic game. They gave you a little more playability with characters. You could change the different characters. And some of the fun Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and some of the later releases on the PlayStation, it was just absolute epic games.
Yeah, dude. It was definitely. I remember the title of the game, and I know a lot of people enjoyed it. All right, Zelda 2, Link, The Venture of Link.
Yeah, this actually surprised me that this was number 8 on our bestseller list. But I guess Zelda was.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked
Zelda
too.
was such a popular game, the original Zelda. But still coming in at 4.8 million or 4.3 million copies. That's still really respectable at that time. But the game, to me, they went to a side scroller style versus the Overlord looking down style, and I just didn't think the game was executed very well. It was almost like Link's sword was like almost too small. The hitboxes on the characters were horrendous. The controls were bad. I mean, people still enjoy the game, obviously, if it's number 8 all-time top 10 bestseller, but just never was my thing.
Yeah, I don't think I got into Zelda 2. I did like Zelda 1, but I don't think I ended up going on beyond that. If I did, it was just because I had Zelda 1 and I probably bought it for the title.
My favorite was the Link to the Past, the one that came out on Super Nintendo. Now, that was a really well-made game. It was the one I put the most hours in, and my absolute favorite Zelda.
Excite Bike. Now, I spent a lot of time on this one. I loved it because I loved there was creative mode where you could kind of create your own track, and and being just competitive and trying to beat times. I loved Excite Bike. It was exciting.
Exactly. This was actually a very great game, and like you said, having that aspect of being able to use your own creativity and make your own tracks was really, really awesome. Number 10 on the bestseller list. I mean, 4 million copies, absolutely amazing for 1984. So this was an early release that it's still fun to play to this day.
Yeah, dude, that game, I loved that game as a kid, and just doing the backflips and making jump after jump, and that was a
I
lot of
actually went
fun.
back and replayed this, and I didn't realize how quickly your bike overheats. That's one thing that I didn't remember playing from kid.
That's right. Yeah, man. When you're sitting there and you keep trying to hit the NOS.
Right, it would overheat really quickly, and so that was one thing that was frustrating me. I was like, I don't remember it doing this.
Man, that was such a fun game. Back in the day too, when you had to play, with someone next to you, I sent you that little meme, but it's so true nowadays. You could play with someone across the world, but back in the day, man, if you wanted to play two players, and there wasn't more than the 2-player back then at all, but you had to be both plugged in.
That's right.
Wasn't wireless or anything at that point in time. Get your controllers all twisted up.
Right.
Like, number one. Everybody wanted to be player one. Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghosts and Goblins. This game is so frustratingly hard. Don't get me wrong, it was a fun game. It's still really popular today. A lot of people show up on my TikTok asking me to play this game. I'm like, I'm sorry, I just can't. It's so frustratingly hard. I mean, it's one of those games that you really have to sit down and commit to because it is really hard to get through.
Yeah, see, it's another game I didn't really ever get into, so it sounds like I steered away from any complicated games because I'd probably throw my controller at the TV.
It is so weird in the setup at the end. Like, if you move just too far to the right, you trigger in what I always call the red demon. He comes in, and you don't get the right weapon, and you need this weapon to finish the game easier, or your life is just going to be incredibly difficult. So, there's little things like that you couldn't Google back then. You either called the Nintendo hotline for $8,000 a minute, or you just figured it out.
That's right, dude. I didn't ever see this one, but Super Mario Brothers: The Lost Levels. Yes. It looks like it came out in 1986. I don't think I ever saw that.
That's what I was saying. That was technically Super Mario Brothers 2. But we didn't get the Lost Levels until 1993 release on the Super Nintendo, Super Mario All-Stars. It came with all the Mario games and the Lost Levels, which was Japan's version of Super Mario Brothers 2, if I'm recalling that correctly. But
okay, yeah. Yeah, because
it looks exactly like Super Mario 1, and it's a lot harder. It says even on the game, this is for power players. This is for people who know what they're doing. Advanced players.
Star Tropics.
Now, this is a RPG,
never heard of that
if I
one.
remember correctly. It's one that I never played, but if I remember that correctly, that was a RPG. And, when I was a kid, I wasn't big into the RPG games. I'm actually surprised Final Fantasy isn't on this top 10 list because it was such an iconic Nintendo game. But for me, RPGs weren't my thing.
Right.
I already didn't like to read in school. Now you want me to read all these storylines in a Nintendo game? Get out of here. Give me content. I want to shoot something.
Yeah.
Right, that's why I became a Marine and not a librarian.
Exactly. No English majors.
I mean, I can barely speak English. I know enough to order in a restaurant.
Right.
I can.
Where's the bathroom at? That's all right. Balloon Fight.
Balloon Fight was one I didn't play. It was a more obscure game, but I remember the game. It's actually on my Nintendo Switch, but it's not one I'm jumping out of my seat to go play.
Yeah, no, don't think I ever really played that one either. All right, Double Dragon. Now, I played me some Double Dragon, and I loved me some Double Dragon, no doubt. That was a lot of fun. I remember going over to my neighbor's house, and me and my buddy, man, we'd just be trying to beat it, because you could play together on that one. And it's funny because back then too, when you're playing multiplayer, you got to keep up with each other because the screen wouldn't go any further than the last player that, that was left behind. You're like, come on, bro, come on, we're keep
very
moving.
familiar with that. I actually love Double Dragon 2. That was my favorite of the series. I actually still run through it for fun. It's still a great game. It's still an iconic game. I still run through it. How old is Double Dragon 2? But I still like to play it. Absolute classic side-scrolling beat-em-up game. I still love that style of game, like Streets of Rage, Final Fight, the Turtles arcade beat-em-up games. Any of those side-scroller, 1,000 enemies come at you and you have to beat them all up. I still love to this day because of Double Dragon.
Yeah, Double Dragon was definitely brought that in. Or I don't even remember if you remember Kung Fu. And I believe, Kung Fu was another one of those games I loved, and I played a lot of it.
A lot of Kung Fu, which is it's a really fun game, but you can run through it in one sitting in about 7 minutes if you're really slow.
Yeah. Dr. Mario. Now, this was basically Tetris on steroids, pretty much, and it's the Mario version of Tetris.
Right. Which I didn't really enjoy Dr. Mario as much as I did Tetris. Dr. Mario is actually just behind Tetris on the bestseller list. They're 6 and 7, so Dr. Mario comes in at number 7, 4.85 million copies. Like you said, they just dressed up a Tetris game because it was so popular. Put Mario on it because he's so popular, and it's fun. But to me, Tetris is where it's at.
Yeah, I definitely would choose Tetris over Dr. Mario.
Absolutely. Like I said, Tetris is number 6 on the bestseller list, 5.5 million copies. And this game actually has a crazy backstory if you're not familiar with it. How this game escaped from Russia. I mean, there's an amazing documentary about Tetris. And I don't remember all of the subtle nuances, but it almost literally took spies to get this game from Russia to American hands. It's a crazy backstory. I highly suggest look into the documentary on Tetris.
Wow, that's super crazy. Interesting facts. All right, Batman. Now, Nintendo was kind of the start of bringing out movies into the game world. Because even the next one that I'm going to read off is from the movies. But Nintendo, now that I remember it, definitely started bringing in, stuff from the movie theater into your house. And you could actually play it.
Batman was one of the ones that it was probably the best of the movie games. Such a fun game. It was really well made. What a lot of people used to do is they would capitalize on the biggest blockbuster that was being released. And they would just throw out a really crappy game, just to meet a deadline, slap the movie sticker on the game. And a lot of times it had nothing to do with the actual movie itself or whatever TV show it was based on. Right. But Batman was one they did a really good job on. It played really, really well. And it's got to be on my top 5 or top 6 best Nintendo games of all time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And but this next one, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, because I enjoyed the movie a lot too, but I definitely love playing the game.
Yeah, number 9 on the bestseller list, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Look, it was fun because I love turtles. I've always loved turtles since day one.
Yeah.
Was it harder than me trying to balance my checkbook? Absolutely. I mean, this game was incredibly difficult.
That was a tough game. I don't even think I ever beat it, to be honest with you.
You also have the notorious dam level where you're swimming through the water trying to disable all the bombs before the timer counts down. Just to get past that part alone was absolutely difficult. I used to think my parents hated me because they bought me this game because it was so hard. But, back in the day, you played what you had, and even though it was hard, you still played it because, hey, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's go. Give me Leonardo and Donatello.
Yeah. Now, this next game, I enjoyed this game. I got my dad to actually play with me as well. Tecmo Bowl. And Tecmo Bowl was a lot of fun. It was so simple. It was literally like 4 plays on offense, and then if the defense picked the right defense during the play, it's like an automatic,
Right.
sack or whatever. But my gosh, I definitely lived on Tecmo Bowl, and then they came out with like a Super Tecmo Bowl, and me and my dad, that's like one of the games I was able to get him on, and then eventually Madden came out. My dad couldn't get the grasp of all the plays and all the controls and stuff. It got to beyond his knowledge level of video games. But Tecmo Bowl, man, I love that game. I don't know.
Love
Did you ever play
Tecmo Bowl,
Tecmo Bowl?
Super Tecmo Bowl. They were the first football games, video games, that actually got it right. They were actually fun to play. It kind of looked like you were actually playing football.
Yeah.
You could run the plays. You actually had a defense. I mean, it was a iconic game with the cut scenes. When you'd get a touchdown, the players would jump up and high five, or if you ran that goal line play, Walter Payton would jump over the line there trying to score. Just
You definitely liked being the Chicago Bears, or even sometimes the Raiders, because they had Bo Jackson, and you just pitch out the ball to Bo Jackson, and dude, he was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And you know what's funny is I was scrolling through TikTok one day, and there was a guy on there, and he's streaming Tecmo Bowl. I was like, oh man, caught my attention for a little bit. That's a great one. All right, let's see. Let's go through Bubble Bobble. Now, I had a lot of fun playing that game as a kid. I know it was something me and my little sister actually would play a lot against. I don't know if you ever played.
Yeah, I played it. I didn't ever own a copy, but when you would go over and hang out with friends and do sleepovers and stuff, everyone had Nintendo and Nintendo games, and it was always fun to try out a new game that you didn't have yourself. So
that one was a fun multiplayer game. I felt like it was definitely one of those games. It was fun to play against someone. You're sitting there shooting your bubbles, trying to unlock stuff and drop things, and
absolutely,
it was a lot of fun. All right, Final Fantasy.
Yeah. The Final Fantasy on Nintendo, I didn't get into Final Fantasy until Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation. So all these games I don't have any experience with. I've seen the videos of them. Some of my TikTok followers, I watch them play the games, and it's fun to go back and revisit and see where RPGs came from to where they are today. But back in the day, I just didn't understand an RPG, and it didn't keep my attention. So I avoided most of the RPGs until I became an adult.
Yeah, I didn't play Final Fantasy. Like you said, I couldn't get into the whole. I guess I got kind of bored when it started doing the storyline and reading, and it was like quest, and you got to read paragraphs, and like you said, man, I started feeling like you're in school again.
I didn't like the turn-based attack system. Okay, I attack you, then you attack me, and then I attack you. I never understood it, so I didn't like it. So
baseball. Now, I thought any baseball game back then was kind of fun. They made a lot of fun baseball games. But that one was one of the first ones I think that
which was really fun. As a multiplayer
old
game, that was probably the best games back in the day were ones you could play with friends and family. Played many, many hours of the baseballs, all the different baseballs, MLB baseball, bases loaded. There was some futuristic version with robots. What was the other? Tommy Lasorda baseball. Triple play. I mean, there was just so many baseball games.
Oh, triple play.
But absolutely love baseball.
Yep. Those were good games. A lot of fun. All right. Let's see. River City Ransom.
Now, this is a game that I didn't play until a couple of years ago. It's kind of like Double Dragon. It's a little faster pace. I was playing some retro games on my retro game emulator called a Pandora's Box 3D. And one of my followers kept saying, please play River City Ransom, River City Ransom. I was like, I never played that. I don't know about it. But I played it and absolutely fell in love with it. It's such a fun little cute game that was like a side-scroller beat 'em up. It actually had where you could build your character up and their different fighting styles and moves up. Really, really awesome game.
Wow.
And I didn't know about it until they brought it up. So one cool thing about TikTok, you can open yourself up to experience new things.
Yeah, there's about just about everything, every little niche or, hobbies or whatever you got. It's pretty much on there, man. One that I'm not seeing yet that I'm gonna bring out is Mike Tyson Punch Out. That game was a lot of fun, I think, and everybody kind of knew who Mike Tyson was, and that was like the big deal to beat Mike Tyson in that game. And it was pretty it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough leading up to getting to him, but that game I did finally, knock good old Mike Tyson
still never
out.
beat Tyson. Still to this day, 41 years old, never beat Mike Tyson. Can get to him pretty.
Oh man, yeah, that one was a lot of fun.
Get to him really, really easy. I tried to go back and play it on the emulator, and there was like some latency involved with the lag. I wasn't doing as well, but still such a epic game. Each character has their own little quirks and their own little special moves that you had to figure out. Each one had a different trick in order to beat them. I still remember so many of the tricks, like when Ball Bull rushes. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of the crowd, there's a cameraman. As soon as his camera flashes, that's when you press the button to knock out Ball Bull.
Yeah, and there's that whole, like the whole time when they're going crazy, that whole time you're just dodging and weaving. That was a lot of fun, that game. Kung Fu is one that I mentioned earlier, but I loved playing Kung Fu, and that game wasn't too
oh no, it was
beat.
Incredibly easy. I remember beating it as a kid, like really, really easily. But it was a game that anyone could pick up. It was fun. It had amazing sound effects, whoo, 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 just over and over and over.
Yeah.
And it was just.
They had the little kids and stuff coming at you, man.
Yeah, and even snakes from the ceiling, and each boss had their own special weapon you had to figure out. So yeah, Kung Fu was a classic game.
That was a great game. DuckTales.
Now, this game was really, really amazing. It's really high on my list as well. I love the TV show. Always get home from school, we'd watch DuckTales, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, which is also a great Nintendo game. But DuckTales was a really, really well-made game. Like I said, a lot of times people would emulate a TV show or movie that just slapped a sticker on it, put out a very bad game, and just to make the money. But DuckTales is still fun to this day to play.
Yeah, see, Nintendo really had their hand on a lot of things back then. In the movie industry, they had some Disney games out there, which is crazy to think that Disney's so trademarked nowadays. But back then, obviously, they allowed them to run with some of their, like the DuckTales, and there's a couple other games, like you said, the Chip and Dale game. I can't remember if there's any other ones, but Nintendo kind of had their hands in a lot of stuff, man. I mean, they really, I think they put on the whole trademark thing, though, where people were like, oh, wait, we can't let them capitalize off of us, too. All right, let's see here. Mega Man.
I absolutely love Mega Man. Mega Man 2 is probably my favorite of the earlier series. Just played it breakfast, lunch, and dinner for like 2 years in a row. I would beat it every day, 3 times a day, like no lie. Just love going through, getting all the special weapons and the power-ups and figuring out which weapon defeated which boss the easiest. But when you finally get to Dr. Wily, it's so satisfying just to beat And I used to love the ending where Mega Man would like be walking to the sunset and take his helmet off, and it was just sitting on the ground at the end there. So really, really awesome game. I have so many awesome fond memories of it, and I still remember the first time I beat it.
Now, this one I had a lot of fun, and my cousin kind of got me hooked on this. Was playing ice hockey. I never was much into hockey, but my cousin Nick, man, he loved playing that game, and every time I would go over to my grandma's house, we would play that hockey game. It was a lot of fun. And there was another one, I think it was like Blades or something like that. Yeah, now that one was, I think, the one we really
which had the best. Blades of Steel had the best fight scenes, I felt like. And you would fight.
That was fun.
And if you lost the fight, you would get put in the penalty box, and the other team would have the power play. So you have to be sure to win those fights.
Yeah, they made that game really nice, and I think I liked
really
it.
Well made game.
That was a lot of fun. It was always fun to get in the fights. Which has
kind of surprised me that ice hockey, isn't like hugely popular here in America, but two of the best sports games were hockey games. Ice hockey, Blades of Steel. Those are really, really well made games that still hold up to this day, in my opinion. It's fun to go back and revisit.
I didn't really, I've been sleeping on hockey for many years, but this year was my first year actually going to a hockey game, and I actually fell in love with it, man. It was a lot. There's just a lot of action going on in hockey, and sometimes it's so much action you lose track of the puck.
Absolutely. Last weekend I went to the fights, and a hockey game broke out.
Exactly. Some of those guys, man, they definitely duke it out quite often. Was there a lot of fights at that one?
My local team, they're pretty much known. They're called the Mayhem. So if your name is Mayhem, you're throwing the gloves down.
They got to live up to the hype. All right, so that kind of go through the different lists. Is there any that I didn't mention that are on the top 10 that we glazed over?
Did we cover Duck Hunt? Because Duck Hunt's number 2 at 38 million copies.
No, and that's definitely a big time game that we can't forget about. Duck
number
Hunt.
2.
Now, where's that fall?
But obviously, Mario 1 and Duck Hunt, they were the same game. So I'm surprised they're not the same number. But Duck Hunt, absolutely classic game. Raise your hand if you ever tried to shoot the laughing dog with the zapper. I know I did. And a little trick that a lot of people didn't know, if you use the second controller, you can control the ducks flying. So, a lot of people didn't know that, but I still remember it from when I was a kid. I figured it out. When my brother was playing, he would try to hit the ducks, and I could move them and trick him and make him miss.
You might have been one of those guys I was watching on the shows that they had back then, playing these games, man. You know all the secrets.
Yeah, I mean,
but that brings up a good point. Talking about Duck Hunt and the gun is the different things that Nintendo kind of came out with later, whether they were effective or ineffective, which was like the Power Glove. Now, I had the Power Glove. I just didn't feel like the Power Glove was. I didn't feel like it worked probably the way that it was supposed to work.
I never actually played with the Power Glove. I've seen the Power Glove, but the way it worked is you had these 3 sensors that went across your TV, like boom, 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 and it was supposed to pick up on the motion of the glove, but it was. Yes, it was advanced for its time, but it was still kind of dodgy technology, and they didn't quite have it figured out. But what was cool about the Power Glove on the sleeve, it actually had a Nintendo controller. So what I heard, 9 times out of 10, you would just get furious, take the thing off, and just use the control anyway. So, it was a great idea. Nintendo were great innovators. It was just one of their products that didn't work out. But one of my favorite peripheral accessories was the Power Pad. We used to have the track and field game.
Track and field game, bro.
Yeah, you could run,
hurdles,
jump.
bro.
I mean, and it actually worked. It was actually really good for that particular game.
It was.
Now, going back and trying to play a modern game or trying to play a different game might not be so fun, but specifically for track and field, the Power Pad was absolutely epic.
Oh yeah, I
Nintendo
remember
came out
playing
with
that a
so
lot.
many
That was one of my
different
favorite
peripheral
games.
units. Like there was a thing called a U-Force that was supposed to be like motion capture for your hands. It didn't quite turn out well. The technology, again, it was kind of not where it needed to be. They tried to make it as cheaply as possible, so they had to skimp on the technology. But that would have been some great, great technology if they could have figured that out. The control sticks that looked like arcade sticks was my favorite. I love those. Used to have the big NES arcade stick with the buttons and the joystick. I love playing Contra with that.
Now, Nintendo has been around for a long time. I mean, I didn't realize that in Japan. I mean, it's been a name for, I think, since the 1800s or something. I was seeing it's been around for a long time. Obviously, it had come out to our console for many, many years after that. But Nintendo, the name brand itself, has been around for
absolutely, long time. I believe did it start out as a trading card game and kind of.
It may have, yeah. I mean, I kind of did a little bit of research, and I was really shocked to see how it had been around since I want to say it was 1800s, the late 1800s. And that's amazing, and they're still to this day, still trying to pump stuff out, keeping Mario alive. Obviously, Universal Studios jumped on board with it. There's movie coming out. My little kid, my 5-year-old, he's a big Mario fan now. I mean, so it's kind of funny watching the new, my kids all growing up on something I grew up on and absolutely loved, and now they're doing the same thing.
Absolutely blows me away that my 4-year-old is in love with Mario. Today he wore a Mario hoodie, Mario and Luigi shoes. He's got on Mario socks. I mean, it's International Mario Day.
He's embracing the Mario Day, man.
And while we were on the way to daycare, he beats a level of Mario Odyssey on the Switch and defeats the boss. So, I mean, only at 4 years old, he's already obsessed with Mario like I was at his age. And, man, it just makes my heart smile.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. And it also gives me the excuse to go and play it again myself. Like, here, let me give me the controller. Let me show you how to do this.
Because it just gives you extra bonding time. I use it as an excuse to play games, but he thinks we're playing games, but we're also bonding. So
yeah, I'm teaching them how to be a good loser too, because I ain't gonna lose to my 5-year-old, bro. Take that,
and
kid.
Mine's already learned the art of trash talk. He told me to get good.
Yeah, my son says the same thing, man. They pick up them things. He's always like, good. Yeah. And then he calls me bro sometimes. Like, no.
Yeah. That's a habit I picked up annoying my teenager. What's going on, bro? Just to annoy my teenager.
Right, yeah, the teenagers, man. Yeah, I get my 18-year-old daughter so much crap the way I talk to her. Sometimes I was on her campus and she's like, Dad, you're going to get me canceled. And I'm just like, whoops, your dad probably shouldn't be on campus, because your dad would get kicked off this campus.
I'll tell you what, though, if we ever come over to the West Coast, we got to hook up and go over to Mario Land together. I would love to see that.
Absolutely, man. I would love that. That would be absolute amazing privilege to hang out with Jesse at Mario World, dude. I think you'd have a lot of fun, man. It was fun driving in Mario Kart and getting to shoot things like you're driving. It was quite the experience.
Yeah,
man.
It looks
I loved it. Just being around, just in the general area. Like, I think I lost my wife and kids several times because I'm just sitting there with my video camera like, oh, my gosh. I'm looking like the tourist because I was just in awe. And like I said, I jumped on live real quick. And I was like, other people got to see this.
If you ever go back, send out another live stream. I'd love to see it.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. Well, we got season passes now. So we will be going there more often. I mean, we only live like about an hour and 20 minutes away from it, so it's not a bad little drive for us to go get a little bit of a break from the desert world.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting me hang out on this epic episode.
Yeah, man.
I love covering the Nintendo, and man, you really did a deep dive into it. I certainly appreciate you having me again.
Absolutely. I love doing this with you, Jesse. It's always fun, man. We're going to go ahead and what are we doing next? The next throwback? Are we going, we're going to go Super NES or are we going to go Sega? Because I'll be honest with you. I went from, I think, Nintendo straight into Sega, kind of skipped the Super NES because, I don't know, Sega just, grabbed my attention.
But what do you think? Let's do Sega. Just to mix it up a bit, and then maybe do Super Nintendo because we got to cover Super Nintendo because it's absolutely iconic and classic. But I'm like you, when I got my Sega, I was like, oh, this is better than Nintendo. They don't censor their games. The music sounds so awesome. This is edgy. I'm a big kid now. I don't play Nintendo anymore. So, right.
Right. Yeah, Nintendo's for little kids. Yeah. I want to play Madden, not Tecmo Bowl anymore.
But yeah, let's go Sega Genesis next.
All right, Jesse. Yeah, let's do it, brother. All right, man. I really appreciate you and everybody. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys are watching this, you guys can watch it on YouTube or Spotify. If you're listening to it, you can catch it on pretty much any of the podcast platforms. I also just got added on to Amazon Music, so you can check us out on there as well. But everybody have a great day, great week. Jesse, bye.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you later, bro. Thank you, brother.